to show you how to make these really pretty fondant ombre waves. So I got my cake out of the refrigerator and I need to see how long I have to roll this fondant out. So I'm measuring the circumference of the cake, which is about 25 inches. And then I'm rolling out the white fondant really long, and I got my fondant smoother to smooth it out, making sure it's 25 inches long. I'm cutting it in half, and then I'm taking my little tool and just cutting waves on either side. And I always take my fingers and smooth my cuts. And I go over to my cake. I'm finding the front, which is most symmetrical, and I just pointed an arrow to the front, getting a little bit of water down. I'm starting in the very back, and I'm making sure that top wave is hanging over the top of the cake a little bit. I just prefer it to be like that. And then once I get to the very back, I'm going to take some scissors and cut it, and then just press that seam together, making sure the seam is even on the very top, and taking my fingers and pressing it against the cake and smoothing out the tops. Now I'm getting a little bit of water on that bottom third of that fondant and on the cake underneath it, and then I'm layering this next piece on. So I'm making sure that the bottom part is stuck to the water and the very top part of that wave is not stuck to anything, because it's going to pull away from the cake a little bit. And same thing, cut it in the back, get a little bit of water down, make sure the very tops are even, and I'm going to take my fingers and press it against the cake. And then I'm just taking a palette knife and pulling it out a little bit. Now I want to do the next color, so I'm doing really light blue, and I forgot to mention I do have Tylose powder mixed into my fondant. That's about a quarter of a teaspoon that I mixed in there. It's just going to help your fondant set harder. Doing the same process, rolling it out, making sure it's long enough, smoothing it out, cutting it in half, and you can see how thin I'm rolling that fondant out. And I'm making my little waves, and then I go back to the cake and I get a little water down on that bottom part of the fondant and start in the very back and do the same process for this. So I'm wrapping it around where it meets in the back, cut it, get a little bit of water behind it, and press it together, pushing it down against the cake. Now I want to make this light blue a little darker, so I had some royal blue fondant. You can always add a little bit more royal blue coloring. I like the seams to meet in the very back. That way you really won't be able to see it once I have another cake stacked on top. So then for this very bottom one, that was a little too tall, so I'm just trimming it on the bottom and then getting a little bit of water down. Do you see how it's not as tall as the rest? So it's not going to come up to the same height as that other one that was above it. And then just pressing that all down together, getting my dry paintbrush and removing any cornstarch that's on there, and just using my palette knife to pull the waves back a little bit to give it a little motion. And here is the ombre wave cake. I do this all the time. I love this technique. Obviously, you could do it for cakes that have an under the sea theme, and you can always vary the colors and do it for any theme that you like. The possibilities are endless.